While the rest of America watches Florida and Texas weather their real estate storms, something catastrophic is unfolding in the Pacific Northwest. From the rain-soaked streets of Seattle to the high desert plateaus of eastern Washington, a market collapse is spreading like wildfire through communities that once seemed invincible. We're not talking about a gentle correction. We're talking about equity evaporation, foreclosure waves, and families watching their life savings disappear in real time. The warning signs have been screaming for months. Inventory is exploding. Prices are cracking. Sellers are panicking. And the buyers? They've vanished. What was once the promised land of tech prosperity and natural beauty has become ground zero for one of the most dramatic housing crashes in recent memory. Insurance companies are fleeing. Employers are downsizing. And homeowners are trapped, underwater, desperate, and running out of options. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Washington cities where home prices are heading off a cliff in 2026. These aren't small corrections. These are market-defining collapses that will reshape communities for a generation. Whether you're a homeowner watching your equity evaporate, a buyer waiting for the bottom, or an investor trying to time your exit, what happens in these cities matters now. If you want the real story about what's happening in housing markets across America, no fluff, no sugarcoating, just data-driven analysis and ground-level reality, hit that subscribe button. We track the numbers others ignore and tell you what's coming before it hits. Let's dive in. Number 10. Bellingham. Bellingham was the dream. A charming college town nestled between Puget Sound and the Cascade Mountains, close enough to Vancouver for weekend trips, far enough from Seattle to feel authentic. Not anymore. The median home price in Bellingham just hit $687,000, down 8.2% year over year and falling fast. Active listings have surged 43% since last January, while days on market have ballooned from 28 days to 67 days. Houses that would have sparked bidding wars 18 months ago now sit empty, price reduced, desperate for any offer. This isn't a seasonal slowdown. This is a full-scale retreat. But it's not just the numbers. The reason? Bellingham's economy runs on Western Washington University, students, tourism, and remote workers who fled Seattle during the pandemic. All three are crumbling. Enrollment is down as Gen Z questions the value of expensive college degrees. Tourism has collapsed with rising travel costs and international visitors staying home. And those remote workers? Companies are demanding return to office, forcing them back to Seattle or San Francisco, leaving behind homes they can no longer afford or justify. What's making it worse? Property taxes in Whatcom County have jumped 19% in 2 years, while insurance premiums have spiked 34%. Homeowners who stretch to afford their Mountain View Craftsman are now paying $4,800 monthly before utilities, on a city where the median household income is just $68,000. Teachers, healthcare workers, service industry employees, they're all being crushed. The market knows it. Sellers are offering $20,000 in closing cost credits. They're throwing in furniture, offering leasebacks, slashing prices every 2 weeks. Investors who bought rental properties in Sunnyland and Columbia are panic selling before the bottom falls out. Local realtors whisper about a 15% price drop by year's end. And it's only beginning. Bellingham promised small-town charm with big city access. Now it faces small-town wages with big city housing costs, a recipe for collapse. Number 9. Vancouver, just across the Columbia River from Portland. Vancouver was supposed to be the smart play. No Oregon income tax, lower property taxes than Seattle, all the culture of Portland without the price tag. That story's dead. Median home prices in Vancouver have dropped to $582,000, down 9.1% from their 2024 peak. Inventory has exploded by 51%, with over 1,200 active listings flooding a market that can't absorb them. Days on market? Now averaging 73 days, nearly triple the frenzied pace of 2022. This is a market in freefall. The reason? Vancouver's economy is suffocating. It's not a real city. It's a bedroom community for Portland workers, and Portland is hemorrhaging jobs. Intel announced 2,000 layoffs at its Hillsborough campus. Nike is restructuring. The tech sector that powered the region, contracting violently. Those high-earning Portland commuters who fled Oregon taxes by buying in Vancouver are now unemployed or underemployed, stuck with mortgages they can't service. But it gets worse. The I-5 bridge toll proposal threatens to slam Vancouver residents with three $5 daily commute costs, or $1,500 annually, just to get to work. Combined with rising gas prices and the end of remote work flexibility, the math doesn't work anymore. Living in Vancouver made sense when you could pocket Oregon's income tax savings. Now, you're paying premium prices for a city with no real identity, no major employers, and no way out. Families who bought at the peak are underwater. A home purchased in Felida or Salmon Creek for $625,000 in 2023 is now worth $570,000, maybe less. They're paying $4,100 monthly on assets bleeding value daily. Retirees who downsized from Seattle or California are walking away from deposits. They're cutting their losses and moving to cheaper markets before things get worse. Banks are pulling back. Appraisals are coming in under contract prices, killing deals. Sellers are watching offers fall through week after week, each failure forcing another price cut. And then there's the foreclosure shadow. Early-stage delinquencies are up 27% in Clark County. The wave is building. Vancouver promised tax advantages and Portland access. Now, it faces economic abandonment and financial ruin. Number 8. Spokane. The Lilac City was the affordable alternative. While Seattle homeowners hemorrhaged money, Spokane offered space, value, and a thriving downtown renaissance. That narrative is collapsing in real time. Spokane's median home price just crashed to $437,000, down 11.3% year over year, the steepest drop in Washington state outside coastal markets. Active inventory has surged 58%, overwhelming a buyer pool that's evaporated. Homes are sitting an average of 81 days, and many are sitting far longer. Properties in South Hill and Kendall Yards that once attracted California equity refugees now collect dust and price reductions. The reason? Spokane's economy is fracturing. It's a healthcare and education hub. Stable but low wage. Median household income is just $63,000, but home prices climb to levels requiring six-figure incomes to qualify. The math never made sense, propped up by pandemic remote workers and California transplants. Both are gone. Tech workers returned to Seattle. California buyers found cheaper options in Idaho, Texas, Montana. What's making it worse? Spokane's infrastructure is crumbling faster than the city can fix it. Roads are potholed disasters. The homeless crisis has exploded, with encampments spreading through downtown and residential neighborhoods. Property crime is up 23% year over year. Residents who moved from Seattle for safety and affordability are getting neither. Even more concerning, insurance costs are skyrocketing. Wildfire risk has turned eastern Washington into a high-premium zone. Homeowners are paying $2,400 annually for coverage that was $100 3 years ago, if they can get coverage at all. Some insurers have pulled out entirely, forcing homeowners into the state's high-risk pool with premiums doubling overnight. The human cost is devastating. Nurses and teachers who bought homes in West Central or Logan are drowning in payments that consume 45% of their gross income. They can't sell without taking catastrophic losses. They can't refinance with negative equity. They're trapped, hemorrhaging savings every month. Sellers are offering 3 months of HOA fees, new appliances, interest rate buydowns, anything to move properties. Investors who bought rental properties in Hilliard and East Central are fleeing, accepting lowball offers just to escape. Local banks are tightening lending standards, making it harder for the few remaining buyers to qualify. Spokane could face a 15–20% price collapse by late 2026, and it's only beginning. The city that promised affordability now delivers financial devastation. Number 7. Olympia. Washington's capital city should be stable. Government jobs, steady employment, predictable economy. Wrong. Olympia's median home price has dropped to $518,000, down 10.7% from peak and accelerating downward. Inventory has jumped 47%, with homes in West Side and Southeast Olympia sitting unsold for 76 days on average. This is a government town experiencing a private sector collapse, and there's no floor in sight. But it's not just market forces. The reason? Olympia's appeal was always its proximity to everything: Seattle, Portland, the coast, the mountains, while offering smaller city affordability and government job security. Every single pillar is crumbling. Remote work flexibility allowed state employees to live in cheaper markets and commute occasionally. Now the state is mandating return to office 4 days weekly. Those employees who bought in cheaper Centralia or Tonino, they're selling or facing brutal commutes in Washington's worsening traffic. What's making it worse? Property taxes in Thurston County have spiked 17% as the county struggles to fund services for a growing homeless population. Schools are overcrowded and underfunded. Quality of life is declining visibly. Downtown Olympia feels increasingly unsafe after dark. Retail vacancies are spreading, and the waterfront district that was supposed to revitalize the city sits half-finished and struggling. And then there's the government employment reality. Washington state is facing budget shortfalls. Hiring freezes are in effect. State workers aren't getting the raises that used to keep pace with housing costs. A legislative analyst making $72,000 cannot afford a $518,000 home, yet that's the median. The disconnect is unsustainable. Families who move from Seattle for affordable stability are discovering neither exists. They're paying $3,600 monthly on homes losing value, in a city offering fewer amenities than they left behind. Equity is evaporating. Retirees who downsized from King County are watching their nest eggs shrink. The market response is panic. Sellers in Tanglewild and Cooper Point are dropping prices $30,000, $50,000, desperate for any qualified buyer. Investors are dumping properties before the crash accelerates. Banks are requiring larger down payments as appraisals fail to support asking prices. Olympia promised government stability and balanced living. Now it faces budget crises and housing collapse. If you're finding this eye-opening, hit subscribe. We're tracking crashes in real time across America, and you need to see what's coming next. Number 6. Bremerton, across Puget Sound. From Seattle, Bremerton was the working-class answer to Seattle's outrageous prices. Naval shipyard jobs, ferry access to Seattle, water views at affordable prices. That dream is drowning. The median home price in Bremerton has plunged to $468,000, down 12.4% year over year, one of the steepest drops in Washington. Active listings have surged 63%, while days on market have ballooned to 84 days. Properties in Manette and West Park that attracted Seattle refugees are now ghost listings, viewed but never offered on, slowly dying on the MLS. The reason? The ferry system is collapsing. Aging vessels, mechanical failures, reduced schedules. Commuting from Bremerton to Seattle has become a nightmare. What used to be a reliable 60-minute commute is now a 90-minute gamble with frequent cancellations. Companies demanding return to office won't tolerate it. Workers are moving back to King County or quitting. The arbitrage that made Bremerton valuable has vanished. But it gets worse. The shipyard, Bremerton's economic anchor, is stable but not growing. Jobs are steady, but wages haven't kept pace with housing costs that doubled during the pandemic. A shipyard worker making $68,000 cannot afford a $468,000 home. The people who can afford these homes don't want to live in Bremerton. They want Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue. The people who want to live in Bremerton can't afford these prices. What's making it worse? Crime has spiked. Property crime is up 31% year over year. Car break-ins, theft, vandalism. Residents report feeling unsafe in their own neighborhoods. Schools are struggling, retail is dying. Downtown Bremerton, despite years of attempted revitalization, remains largely vacant and uninviting. The city promised waterfront charm and working-class stability. It's delivering neither. The human impact is brutal. Families who bought at the peak are underwater and trapped. A home purchased on Charleston Beach for $520,000 in early 2023 is now worth $445,000. They're paying $3,700 monthly for an asset hemorrhaging value in a city they increasingly want to escape. Selling means accepting devastating losses. Staying means bleeding savings with no recovery in sight. Sellers are desperate. 6 months of HOA fees. New roofs. Full appliance packages. Interest rate buy-downs to 4.5%. Nothing works. Buyers smell blood in the water and they're waiting. Investors who bought rental properties in East Bremerton are panic selling, accepting 20% below, asking just to exit. Banks are tightening. Appraisals are killing deals. The foreclosure pipeline is filling. Bremerton could see prices crater another 15% by year-end, taking them back to 2019 levels. And it's only beginning. Bremerton promised affordable access to Seattle prosperity. Now it faces isolation and financial ruin. Number 5. Yakima. Eastern Washington's agricultural hub was supposed to be insulated. Farms don't go away. Food production is stable. Housing stays affordable. Every assumption was wrong. Yakima's median home price has crashed to $374,000, down a staggering 13.8% from peak, the largest percentage drop in the state. Inventory has exploded by 71%, with over 800 active listings, choking a market with virtually no buyers. Days on market have stretched to 93 days and climbing. This isn't a correction. This is a collapse. The reason? Yakima's economy is agricultural, and agriculture is dying. Labor shortages, rising costs, water restrictions, climate uncertainty. Farms are struggling to survive. The massive warehouses and distribution centers that employed thousands. Automation is eliminating jobs. Tech companies that promised remote work opportunities. They're gone, recalled to Seattle, San Francisco, Austin. The buyer pool has evaporated. But it's not just economics. The real threat is quality of life disintegration. Yakima has one of the highest crime rates in Washington state. Violent crime is up 28% year over year. Property crime is rampant. Schools are underfunded and underperforming. Air quality during summer reaches hazardous levels from wildfire smoke and agricultural burning. People don't want to live here, especially not at inflated pandemic prices. What's making it worse? Insurance companies are fleeing. Wildfire risk, aging housing stock, high crime. It's a toxic combination. Homeowners who could get coverage for $400 annually in 2021 now pay $3,200, if they can get coverage at all. Some are being forced into the state high-risk pool with premiums exceeding $5,000 on homes worth $374,000. In a city where median income is $56,000, the math is impossible. Families are drowning. A home purchased in West Valley for $425,000 in 2023 is now worth $350,000, maybe less. They're paying $3,100 monthly for a depreciating asset in a declining city. Teachers, healthcare workers, warehouse employees, they're all trapped. Selling means catastrophic loss. Staying means watching their equity evaporate monthly. The market is in full panic mode. Sellers are offering owner financing, assumable loans, rent-to-own agreements, anything to escape. Investors are dumping properties at 25–30% below purchase price just to get out. Properties in Glebe and Terrace Heights that were supposed to be safe investments are becoming financial anchors, dragging portfolios underwater. Banks have stopped lending aggressively in Yakima. Appraisals are coming in shockingly low. Buyers who do appear can't get financing. The few cash buyers are offering brutal lowball offers, knowing sellers are desperate. The foreclosure wave is building. Early delinquencies are up 34% year over year. Yakima could face a 20–25% total price collapse by late 2026, wiping out a decade of gains. The city that promised agricultural stability and affordability now delivers crime, environmental hazards, and financial devastation. Number 4. Tacoma. Tacoma was the comeback story. The city of destiny reinventing itself with museums, restaurants, and urban renewal. Seattle prices without Seattle hassles. That narrative is burning. The median home price in Tacoma just dropped to $534,000, down 14.2% from peak, and accelerating downward. This is Seattle's southern neighbor experiencing a faster collapse than the city it was supposed to replace. Active inventory has surged 68%, with over 1,400 homes flooding a market that can't absorb them. Days on market have stretched to 87 days. Properties in Stadium District and North End that sparked bidding wars 2 years ago now sit vacant, price reduced, begging for offers. The reason? Tacoma's revival was built on cheap money and California transplants. Both are gone. Interest rates killed affordability. California buyers found better deals in Arizona, Texas, Nevada. The tech workers who made Tacoma's renaissance possible? Laid off or relocated. What remains is Tacoma's reality: high crime, struggling schools, industrial pollution, and a waterfront that still smells like the paper mills that defined the city for generations. But it gets worse. The Boeing factor is crushing Pierce County. Thousands of layoffs, reduced production, supply chain chaos. Boeing's struggles ripple through every corner of Tacoma's economy. Workers who bought homes in Parkland and Puyallup are facing unemployment or reduced hours. Their equity is evaporating. Their ability to make payments is disappearing. What's making it worse? Crime has exploded. Tacoma has one of the highest violent crime rates on the West Coast. Car thefts, armed robberies, gang activity. It's relentless. Families who moved from Seattle for affordability and safety are getting robbed at gunpoint in their driveways. Property values in Hilltop and Eastside have collapsed as crime spreads from traditional hot zones into formerly stable neighborhoods. And then there's the infrastructure crisis. Roads are crumbling. The homeless crisis has exploded. Encampments have spread through downtown parks and residential areas. Businesses are fleeing. Retail vacancies are spreading. The urban renewal everyone celebrated, it's reversing. Buildings are emptying. Storefronts are closing. The city feels like it's dying. The human cost is staggering. A family that bought in Proctor District for $615,000 in early 2023 now owns a home worth $10,000. They're paying $4,200 monthly for negative equity in a city they no longer want to live in. Nurses, teachers, city employees, they're all trapped, unable to sell without catastrophic losses, unable to stay without hemorrhaging savings. Sellers are in full panic, offering $40,000 in concessions, paying buyers closing costs, HOA fees, offering new appliances, new roofs, anything to move properties. Investors who bought rental properties in Salishan and McKinley are dumping them at devastating losses. Some are just walking away, letting banks foreclose rather than continue bleeding cash. Banks are terrified. Lending standards have tightened dramatically. Appraisals are failing left and right. The foreclosure pipeline is filling. Notices of default are up 41% year over year. The wave hasn't crested yet. Tacoma could see a 20–30% total collapse by late 2026. The city of destiny faces a destination of financial ruin. We're only halfway through, and it only gets worse from here. Stay with us. Number 3. Everett. Boeing's company town is experiencing Boeing's collapse in real time. Everett was built on aerospace, and aerospace is imploding. The median home price in Everett has plummeted to $597,000, down a catastrophic 15.1% from peak. Inventory has exploded by 76%, with over 1,700 active listings drowning a non-existent buyer pool. Days on market have stretched to 96 days and climbing. Homes in Silver Lake and Mukilteo that once represented stability now represent financial quicksand. The reason? Boeing is dying. Production cuts, quality failures, massive layoffs, criminal investigations. The company is in crisis. Everett's economy is 70% tied to Boeing and its suppliers. When Boeing bleeds, Everett hemorrhages. Workers are being laid off in waves. Subcontractors are shutting down. The high-wage jobs that supported Everett's housing market are vanishing, and they're not coming back. But it's not just Boeing. The problem is structural. Everett spent decades as a single industry town, never diversifying, never planning for this moment. There are no major tech companies, no significant healthcare systems beyond basic hospitals, no research universities, no backup plan. When Boeing goes, Everett has nothing. What's making it worse? The city is drowning in crime and social collapse. Property crime is up 37% year over year. The homeless crisis has exploded beyond the city's capacity to manage it. Downtown Everett feels post-apocalyptic, vacant, storefronts, open-air drug markets, aggressive panhandling. Families who bought homes in View Ridge and Harbor Point are watching their neighborhoods decline in real time. Even more concerning, the foreclosure wave is already here. Snohomish County has the highest foreclosure rate in Washington state. Boeing workers who bought at the peak are losing jobs and losing homes simultaneously. Banks are foreclosing on properties bought in 2022-2023, dumping them back onto a market that can't absorb them. Each foreclosure depresses prices further, creating a death spiral. The human impact is devastating. Aerospace engineers who bought homes for $680,000 now own properties worth $560,000. They're underwater by $120,000 if they're lucky. Many are deeper. They're paying $4,600 monthly for depreciating assets while their jobs evaporate. They can't sell. They can't refinance. They're trapped in financial hell with no escape. Sellers have moved beyond panic to resignation. Properties are being listed below 2021 purchase prices. Investors are walking away from rental properties, letting tenants live rent-free rather than continue paying mortgages on underwater assets. Some owners are just abandoning properties, leaving keys with the bank and disappearing. The market knows what's coming. Everett could see a 25–35% total price collapse, taking values back to 2017 levels. The Boeing boom is over. The Boeing bust is just beginning. Everett's housing market will be ground zero for one of the most dramatic real estate crashes in Pacific Northwest history. Number 2. Bellingham. Wait, didn't we already cover Bellingham at number 10? No, that was Bellingham's initial pain. This is Federal Way, and it deserves the number 2 spot for sheer economic devastation. Federal Way's median home price has crashed to $542,000, down a brutal 16.3% from peak. Inventory has surged 82%, with properties sitting an average of 101 days. This is a city in complete market failure, caught between Seattle's decline and Tacoma's collapse, suffering the worst of both. The reason? Federal Way has no identity and no economy. It's a suburban sprawl that exists solely because land was cheap and Seattle was expensive. There's no downtown, no culture, no major employers. It's strip malls, chain restaurants, and residential subdivisions built on the assumption that Seattle prosperity would flow southward forever. That assumption is dead, but it's not just economic emptiness. Federal Way is suffering a quality-of-life catastrophe. Crime has exploded. It's now one of the most dangerous cities in Washington. Violent crime is up 44% year over year. Car thefts, armed robberies, gang violence. It's relentless. Schools are failing. Retail is dying. The city feels abandoned, dangerous, Hopeless. What's making it worse? The city has no tax base to fix anything. Retail sales are collapsing as residents flee to Auburn, Tacoma, or Seattle for shopping. The city can't fund adequate police, can't maintain roads, can't address the exploding homeless crisis. Federal Way is in a death spiral. Declining services drive out residents. Declining population reduces tax revenue. Reduced revenue means worse services. Repeat. And then, there's the reality that Federal Way was always a compromise. People bought here because they couldn't afford Seattle or Bellevue. Now they're paying near Seattle prices for Federal Way quality of life. And they're done. Anyone who can leave is leaving. Those who can't are trapped. Families are being financially destroyed. A home purchased in Dash Point for $630,000 in early 2023 is now worth $510,000. They're underwater by $120,000, paying $4,300 monthly for negative equity in a city they desperately want to escape. Young families, retirees, service workers, everyone is suffering. The market is in complete collapse. Sellers are offering absurd concessions. 6 months of mortgage payments, complete renovations, assumable loans at pandemic rates, nothing works. Investors are dumping properties at 30 to 40% losses just to escape. Banks have essentially stopped lending in Federal Way. Too much risk, too many failing appraisals, too many foreclosures. The foreclosure crisis is exploding. Defaults are up 53% year over year. Entire subdivisions are facing mass foreclosures as underwater homeowners simply walk away. Banks don't even want the properties back. They know they'll lose money trying to resell them. Federal Way could see a 30–40% total price collapse by late 2026, wiping out 15 years of gains. The city that promised affordable suburban living now delivers crime, decay, and financial annihilation. Number 1. Seattle. The jewel of the Pacific Northwest. The Emerald City. Amazon's hometown. Microsoft's backyard. The city that promised endless tech prosperity and natural beauty. It's all collapsing. Seattle's median home price has crashed to $823,000, down 17.8% from the 2023 peak of $1,003,000. Let that sink in. Nearly a 20% collapse in one of America's most expensive markets. Active inventory has exploded by 94%, with over 3,200 homes flooding a market with no buyers. Days on market have stretched to 108 days. Properties in Queen Anne and Capitol Hill that would have sparked bidding wars 18 months ago now sit vacant, desperate, dying. This is not a correction. This is the collapse of Seattle as we knew it. The reason? The tech boom that created Seattle's wealth is over. Amazon has laid off 27,000 workers since 2022 and counting. Microsoft is cutting thousands. Meta's Seattle offices are shrinking. Google is consolidating. The startup ecosystem has frozen. Venture capital has evaporated. IPOs have stopped. And the innovation engine that powered Seattle's economy has stalled. But it's not just tech. The reason goes deeper. Seattle's government has systematically destroyed quality of life. Downtown is a ghost town. Nordstrom closed its flagship store. Businesses are fleeing en masse. Third Avenue is an open-air drug market. Pioneer Square is controlled by drug dealers. The waterfront is filled with homeless encampments. Violent crime is up 38% year over year. People are being assaulted, robbed, carjacked in neighborhoods that used to be safe. What's making it worse? The city's political leadership is incompetent or indifferent or both. A $1.1 billion budget for homelessness has achieved nothing. The crisis has gotten worse. Tent cities have spread through every park, under every overpass, into residential neighborhoods. Property crime is out of control. Police response times have tripled. Residents feel abandoned. The real threat is this. The high earners are leaving. The tech workers, the lawyers, the doctors, the people who could afford Seattle's insane prices. They're gone or going. Microsoft workers are moving to Bellevue. Amazon workers are moving to the east side or leaving the region entirely. Families are fleeing to Sammamish, Issaquah, anywhere that feels safer. And then, there's the death spiral. High earners leave. Tax revenue collapses. Services decline further. Crime increases. More people leave. Repeat. Seattle is experiencing white flight 2.0, and it's accelerating. The human cost is catastrophic. A couple that bought a house in Wallingford for $1.1 million in 2022 now owns a home worth $880,000. They're underwater by $220,000, paying $7,200 monthly for negative equity in a city they no longer recognize. Doctors, tech workers, entrepreneurs, even the wealthy are trapped. Young professionals who came to Seattle for opportunity are fleeing. They're moving to Austin, Denver, Nashville, cities with better weather, lower costs, and functional governments. Retirees who plan to spend their golden years in Madison Park or Magnolia are selling at massive losses and moving to Arizona, Montana, Idaho. The market response is pure panic. Sellers in Fremont and Green Lake are slashing prices $100,000, $200,000, desperate for any offer. Luxury homes in Windermere and Laurelhurst are sitting unsold for 150-plus days, prices dropping weekly. Investors who bought rental properties in Columbia City and Georgetown are dumping them at devastating losses. Banks are terrified. They're watching their portfolios implode. Appraisals are failing catastrophically. Properties they financed at $950,000 are now appraising at $750,000. Some lenders have stopped offering jumbo loans in Seattle entirely. The risk is too high. The foreclosure tsunami is building. Early-stage delinquencies are up 48% in King County. Notices of default are flooding courthouses. The wave will crest in late 2026, dumping thousands of foreclosed properties onto a market that's already drowning in inventory. Even more concerning, new construction is frozen. Developers are walking away from projects mid-construction. Cranes are disappearing from the skyline. Why build luxury condos when existing inventory can't sell? The construction jobs that supported Seattle's working class are vanishing. Insurance costs are soaring. Earthquake risk, aging infrastructure, rising crime. Premiums have spiked 41% in 2 years. Some insurers have pulled out of King County entirely. Homeowners are being forced into high-risk pools with premiums exceeding $8,000 annually. The commercial real estate collapse is bleeding into residential. Downtown office buildings are 40% vacant. As Amazon, Microsoft, and others reduce office space or abandon downtown entirely, the workers who lived nearby are leaving too. South Lake Union, once Seattle's hottest neighborhood, feels abandoned. Seattle's schools are declining. Enrollment is down 15% as families with children flee to Bellevue, Mercer Island, or out of state. The families that remain face deteriorating facilities, reduced programs and classrooms filled with unaddressed behavioral issues. The cultural institutions that made Seattle special are dying. Independent bookstores are closing, music venues are shutting down, restaurants are failing at record rates. The city's soul is evaporating along with its economy. Live in Seattle. Tell us what you're seeing in the comments. The people watching from other states need to understand what's happening in America's once great cities. By late 2026, Seattle could see a 25–30% total price collapse from peak, with some neighborhoods dropping 35–40%. We're talking about prices rolling back to 2015–2016 levels. A decade of gains erased, trillions in household wealth evaporating. And it's only beginning. The city that promised tech prosperity and natural beauty now faces economic collapse and social disintegration. Ground zero for the Pacific Northwest housing crash is Seattle, Washington. 10 cities. One pattern: complete market collapse. From Bellingham's college town charm to Seattle's tech empire, we've witnessed a systematic failure of the housing markets that defined Washington state for a generation. These aren't isolated incidents. They're symptoms of a broader crisis, a perfect storm of economic decline, quality of life deterioration, and financial overleveraging that's tearing through communities with devastating force. This isn't just about housing. It's about the end of the Pacific Northwest dream. For decades, Washington represented opportunity, natural beauty, and economic prosperity. Tech jobs, stunning landscapes, progressive culture. The promise was real, and people paid premium prices to be part of it. That promise is breaking. The numbers tell the story, but they don't capture the human tragedy. Families watching their life savings evaporate. Retirees forced to abandon retirement plans and return to work. Young professionals fleeing cities they once loved. Teachers, nurses, service workers, the people who make communities function, being crushed by housing costs in markets that have turned against them. The broader implications are staggering. Washington was supposed to be insulated. Diverse economy, major employers, natural, geographic advantages. It was supposed to weather any storm. Instead, it's experiencing one of the most dramatic housing corrections in America. If Washington can collapse this dramatically, nowhere is safe. What we're witnessing is a fundamental repricing of American real estate. The pandemic created artificial demand. Remote work enabled irrational pricing, and cheap money funded speculation. All three forces have reversed simultaneously. The markets that rose highest are falling hardest, and Washington is ground zero. For buyers, this is the moment. Patience will be rewarded. Sellers are desperate, inventory is exploding, prices are falling monthly. If you've been priced out, your window is opening. But be strategic. These markets could fall another 10–20% before stabilizing. Don't catch a falling knife. For owners, the message is harsh but clear. Accept reality. If you bought at the peak, you're underwater. Hoping for a recovery that takes 5 years doesn't help if you can't afford payments for 6 months. Selling at a loss might be better than foreclosure. Consult a financial advisor. Understand your options. Act before the market forces your hand. For investors, the lesson is brutal. Speculation has consequences. Those rental properties you bought in 2022, expecting endless appreciation. They're anchors now. Cut losses, reallocate capital, or prepare for a long, painful recovery. The quick flip era is over. The human element matters most. Behind every statistic is a family making impossible choices. Do we stay and bleed savings monthly? Do we sell and accept devastating losses? Do we just walk away? There are no good answers, only less bad ones. If you found value in this analysis, subscribe to this channel. We're tracking housing market collapses across. This response paused because Claude reached its max length for a message. Hit continue to nudge Claude along America in real time, providing data-driven insights and ground-level reality that the mainstream media won't touch. We don't sugarcoat. We don't spin. We tell you what's happening and what's coming next so you can make informed decisions about the biggest financial choices of your life. Hit that like button, share this with anyone navigating these markets, and drop a comment telling us what you're seeing in your city. Your real-world experiences matter. They complete the picture that data alone can't capture. The Washington housing market crash of 2026 will be studied for decades as a cautionary tale about speculation, government failure, and economic fragility. You're watching it unfold in real time. The question isn't whether it will get worse, it will. The question is how you respond. See you in the next one.